With the help of Hashem, we are learning Brachas Daf Chav Hey. We're going to be learning more about reciting prayers in unclean situations. And there is a difference between saying Shemona Esrei, saying the Shema, in the presence of the actual tzoya versus in the presence of the odor from the tzoya. We're going to learn about the Isur of reciting Shemona Esrei and Shema in the presence of tzoya, that is an Isur Mido Oiraisa, versus the Isur of davening in the presence of urine, that if the urine is not streaming, as we'll explain, then the Isur is only midrabanan, with all of the nafkaminas in that. We're also going to discuss halachically until what point is the urine or the tzoya considered halachic urine or tzoya. As time goes on and they deteriorate, there is a certain moment that from then on it's no longer considered something unclean. We're going to learn about the need of one being covered when they're saying the Shema is being covered in water, considered a covering. We're going to have a question whether if the tzoya is ba'ashashis, what happens if the excrement is in a glass, or it's in a utensil that's transparent. So it's covered, but it's visible. What's going to be the halacha over there? We're going to learn about diluting urine, how much water is needed to be mevatel it. We're going to learn the halacha of a chamber pot. In those days, they didn't have plumbing, so they relieved themselves in a pot. These pots were generally made out of earthenware. Earthenware, we know from many other halachas in the Torah, absorbs. And therefore, they are disgusting, even if they are empty and awful. And therefore, all of the dinim that we are learning is, we can't say the Shema, we can't say the Shemona Esrei, is in the presence of these chamber pots, even if they're empty. And the question will be whether you can put the chamber pot under the bed. Is it considered covered? Is it not considered covered? It depends with how high the bed is, how low the bed is. And finally, we're going to learn about the serious isur of not being allowed to have marital relations in a room that has in it tefillin, that has in it a sefer Torah, really that has in it a mezuzah. The need of putting these holy articles in a keli, b'toich keli, in a double keli. Don't forget, we also learned that if a keli was made for that item, as we'll learn today in the Gemara at the end, it's considered one wrapping, but if you have many wrappings, it's only considered one, which comes out by a mezuzah. The mezuzah case, right, even though many people have a double wrapping because it's put in some sort of plastic to keep out the humidity, then there is the outer case. Since they're both made exclusively for the mezuzah, it's considered one wrapper. Now, many times the mezuzah goes outside the bedroom. That's the way the doorpost, but sometimes you have a mezuzah inside the bedroom. Maybe there's a closet in the bedroom. And how that affects the dinim, whether a couple's allowed to be together. You should just know that many people, for the mezuzahs, if the mezuzah is in the bedroom, they add another paper inside the mezuzah case. Another wrapper, in other words, a paper. They're putting it in order for it to be keli b'toich keli. And God willing, we're going to start learning. I don't know if we'll get there today, but on Daf Chavav, we're going to learn that keli b'toich keli is lav dafka good for a sefer Torah. There's a machlokes. There's a machlokes how to learn the Gemara. But according to many opinions in the Gemara, on the beginning of Daf Chavav, we're going to learn a shita, Rabbi Shimon Levi, that says that a sefer Torah, it's not enough keli b'toich keli. That's a very important halacha. And therefore, what do you do? I mean, it's very common today that people can have a shul in their home. There's many halachas about that. It's not so pashut. Well, there's a side bedroom, which is less problematic, and then there's one above the other. Either way. Okay, with that, let us start on Daf Chaf Hey Amud Aleph. Right, we left off on the top line at the end, the last words of the top line. Ve'amar Rav Huna. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Malkeinu b'shar kol yom dvarim. Says the Gemara, Ve'amar Rav Huna. This is practical when people would actually wear tefillin the whole day. Person is going to defecate and the tefillin is on them, and they already entered. Says Rav Huna, maniach yodoi aleim at sheyigmar. According to Rashi, as we learned above, that Rashi and Daf Chav Gimel, that we're speaking specifically about the tefillin shel roish, because it's exposed, versus the tefillin shel yad. Not only is it near the heart, but especially we know that we have a covering now. We have a covering over the tefillin shel yad. Even though there's a little hole on it for you to be able to touch it, but no one else can see it. The tefillin shel roish l'rashi is that which is very not respectful in the bathroom. So says Rav Huna, put your hand on it ache yigmar, until you finished relieving yourself. Asks the Gemara, ache yigmar salka daitoch. It's so disrespectful. What do you mean ache yigmar? So the Gemara clarifies. Ella kedamar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Ache yigmar amud rishon. In other words, when a person goes to the bathroom, there's what halacha calls the first discharge. And as we'll see in a moment, stopping that in the middle is very unhealthy. So there, the option is not to stop it. So just cover it. But the moment the first discharge left the body, then get out of the bathroom. Even that, the moment you realize you have tefillin, get out of the bathroom. Stop right away. Answers the Gemara, no, mishum Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Tanya Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Aimer. Amud hachoizer, right? A force back. Here we're speaking about a person who's defecating. If a person forces back that release, maybe so adam l'dei hidroikon. It brings an illness called hidroikon, whether it is dropsy, whether it is another machle. Silan hachoizer. If a person, again, a forced back discharge of urine, very unhealthy. Maybe so adam l'dei yeirakin. It can bring upon jaundice, or another machle called yeirakin. And therefore, for health trumps. So whenever it's extremely unhealthy, you got to keep on relieving yourself. There's where Rav Huna gives the solution of covering your tefillin with your hand. Taka, afterwards, leave the bathroom, remove the tefillin, and go back in. Itmar to that soya al besara. If there's some excrement on a part of the person's body, it's covered, but it's on the body, or your hand or your foot is inside the airspace of a beis hakisei. Your mouth and nose are not in there, but a part of your body is in there, says the Gemara Machloikes, and continuing the Machloikes in between Rav Huna and Rav Chizda, where Rav Huna is more lenient, Rav Chizda is more machmer. Rav Huna holds muta likres kriya shema, you may recite the Shema. Rav Chizda no, also likres kriya shema. The Machlal is a rule, just remember, even the opinions that say that certain things may be done for Shema, they won't necessarily say the same for Shema Esrei. But for Shema, you can read the Shema. What's the machlekes? Amar Rava, my Talmud Rav Huna, because it says koil haneshama tahalal yudkei, which is gavaldik. Neshama, Rashi says, refers to the limbs that participate in the breathing, the nose, the mouth. If my nose is in the beis hakisei or my mouth, then I can't say Shema. But if the evarim that do the breathing are out, so what if my hand is in there? Or if there's soya on a part of my body, we're going to see, not that I smell it, it's covered, it's not on my mouth, it's not on my nose, not a problem. However, Rabbi Chizda Amar, no, also likres kriya shema, Rabbi Chizda, because it says, Kol atzmoisai toimano, Hashem, michamoich. All of my bones shout out, speak out to God by saying michamoich. And by the way, that's the source for shuckling and davening. In other words, all of the limbs should be involved in davening. So if one limb is in a beis hakisei, how can you recite the Shema? Okay. Itmar, it was stated. Now we're starting again with the difference, halachic difference between a bad odor that's coming from a ikid, from a tangible source, versus if there's a bad odor that doesn't have a tangible source, as we'll explain. Two different topics. Itmar. Reach rashi yesh le'ikr, the first wide line. And we're speaking about a human soya. Says Rav Huna, marchik dalid ames v'koyra. All you need to do is to go away dalid ames, which means, clearly, Rashi speaks out, even if the odor is reaching you, you have to be 4 ames away from the source. Other details that we learned above, right? It has to be la'achoyrav, the source has to be behind you, minimally litzudadav. It cannot be in front of you, k'maloi einov. You have to be in the distance of your eyesight. But if it's la'achoyrav, again, even though the odor is coming to you, the issue is the actual uncleanliness, the ikr. You have to be 4 amos away from that. However, the second wide line, Rabbi Chizda says, no. Marchik daladamois, from mimakim shepasak horeach. You have to distance yourself from where the odor is. And not 4 amos from there. And v'koyda krishma. Now, it says in Adam. Now here the Braisa, according to Rashi, tsoyas Adam, even if it doesn't have a bad smell. You can't, the tsoyas Adam is so intrinsically offensive that even though there's no odor, you can't read the Shema when it's in front of you. And the same, according to the Tana, to this Tana goes, tsoyas kolavim and tsoyas chazedim are halachically as offensive as tsoyas Adam. And again, Larashi, even if there is no odor, but the tsoya itself, if it's in front of you, you can't say the Shema. Now, v'loi keneged tsoyas tarnagoyim, here we are referring to a chicken coop, that it's so disgusting that you can't say Shema in its proximity. V'loi keneged, we're going to take out the word tsoyas, v'loi keneged ashpa. Now when it comes to the tsoyas tarnagoyim and the ashpa, there, it's about the odor. The first three, tsoyas Adam, tsoyas kolavim, tsoyas chazedim, it's about the tsoya itself, even if there is no odor. And it says the Braisa if they are in a different domain, halachically, that means that they are either in a place 10 tfachim above, again, according to Rashi, in the first cases of the Braisa where there is no odor, the issue is only the tsoya itself. Since you are in a different rishus, so if it's on your side, you're good enough, you can daven right there. And if it's not on your side, marchik moloi einov, again, this concept of you have to be in the distance of your eyesight, and same Tefilla. In other words, Tefilla were more machmir, but this suffices for Tefilla. Now, this is the part of the Braisa that will be the raya to Rab Chizda. Now, what happens if there is actually a bad odor? And again, and there's a tangible source. So don't say that you have to go away only from the ikar. Marchik daladamois mimakam shhareyach. And v'koyre kriyishma mamish like Rav Chizda. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, Leisil Chasaki Hamasnisa. Rava is not referring to the Seifa of the Braisa. That is the source of Rab Chizda. He's speaking about some of the details mentioned in the Reisha, which is regarding tsoyas kolavim and tsoyas chazedim. That even when there is no odor, the Tana holds that they are as offensive as tsoyas adam, and even when there is no more reach, they themselves are offensive. You can't read the Shema in their proximity. But the Rava says we don't paskin that tsoyas kolavim, tsoyas chazedim is like tsoyas adam. Ella, we'll skip the parentheses, ki hadetanya, we paskin like another braisa, that lo yikra adam krishma, lo keneged tsoyas adam, v'lo keneged tsoyas chazedim, v'lo keneged tsoyas kolavim, and the latter two, chazedim and kolavim, only bizman shenasan oidas letoichan, when they would process hides, no, it's tanning, ibud oidas. So first of all, they have to get out the fats from the skin of the animal. Look at your leather. Leather doesn't look like the hide of an animal. So first they would trample on it, and then they would have to salt it, and then part of the processing would be they would have it soak in tsoyas kolavim or tsoyas chazedim. And oy gevalted that stink. We're going to learn in Kedushin, like oy, the world needs perfumers, the world needs tanners. Lucky is the perfumer, and woe is to the tanner. If a man is a tanner and he didn't notify his wife before that he's a tanner, she can divorce him on that premise. Because the stench is so bad that it goes into the person and then it doesn't go out. Bizman Chazal, they had their own synagogues because they stunk. And when you get used to your own stink, what's the Hayyim Yoim? That someone who's grub, they don't know how grub they are. One who's lowly and crass doesn't even know. Okay, so coming, in other words, they hold that soyas chazedim kolavim is only the din if it was tanned in it. So Atkan was reach ra sheyesh lo ikar. This is part of Torah. Freilach. Wait a minute, Rav Sheshes is reach ra she'ein lo ikar. What's reach ra she'ein lo ikar? A person that vents wind. Mao. What's the din regarding? Do you have to distance yourself to say Shema? Or to daven Shemana Esrei. Amalahu. Right up Sheshes answers. Asu, chazu, go, take a look. Look at the mats in the Beis HaMedrash. They had a Beis HaMedrash, and people, 24/7, people are learning, but sometimes people fall asleep in the base, and one guy is learning, one guy is dozing off. And when people doze off, they lose control, and many times people vent wind in a Beis HaMedrash. The Hanigani, some people are dozing off a Hanigarsi, and while they're dozing off, they vent wind. And nowhere do you see that in the Beis HaMedrash people should stop learning. Is that an ayah that if ein lo ikar, you could learn, and therefore coming back to Tefilla, you can learn. So when it comes to learning, indeed you can learn. And like Rashi says, because how would you stop? You're learning in a Beis HaMedrash. If any time someone vents wind, it's not fair for people to have to stop. Aval b'kriyashma, kriyashma is something that you say in the morning and the evening. Kriyashma is a one-time statement, a declaration. For Kriyashma, no. B'kriyashma loy, says Rashi, yetze l'chutz v'yikra, go outside. And furthermore, that you are permitted the leniency elo d'chavre if it's not, if someone else smelled up the area. Aval didei, then loy, like Rashi says, you have to be mamten at she'ich l'ha'orech. Weiter, itma we learned soya oivedes. Soya veres, then they had chamber pots. Soya veres means today, we have kids, you have 8 o'clock, and the diaper is being taken from wherever until the garbage, and they're walking nearby you. So for a moment, the tsoya is near you. Abaya Amar, since the tsoya is moving, muta likres kriyashma. You're not in the vicinity of tsoya. Rava says, no, asa likres kriyashma. With all of the dinim. In other words, whether you have to go away daladamas from the tsoya, whether you have to go away daladamas from the reyach of the tsoya. But just because it's moving, when it's near you, it has the din of tsoya. Amar Abaye, no, amin Allah, my leniency that if it's oiveres, even if it's right in front of you, you can read the Shema, the Tanan. Again, these left fields, these are gavaldik. We learned the Mishnah in the Goyim. Hatamei, the Tamei refers to a mitzayra. Now what's unique about a mitzayra is that a mitzayra gives off tuma similar to tumas oil. Corpse gives off tumas oil. That means any item that's under the same roof of the mace, I mean, there are pratim about that, but that's the concept. Or if you go over the mace, or if the mace is carried over you, you become tummy. A mitzayra, man or woman, any item that is in their place, under the same roof becomes tummy. It's not exactly tumas oil, but something has to be in the place where the mitzayra is. Now, what happens if you have a tree? Also, we learned this at the end of Nida. Sometimes the trees are filled with branches. So if you're standing here, the mitzayra under the tree, anything under those branches are in the location of the mitzayra. What's going to happen if the mitzayra is walking under a tree? So that's mamash. That's the comparison to tsoya oiveres. And we're going to learn in the Braisa that if the mitzayra is stationary, even if the item is being transported under the same branches, that item will become tummy, because it's under the same oil as the mitzayra. But if the mitzayra is moving, then he doesn't give off that tuma. So therefore, if the tsoya is moving, it doesn't have a din of tsoya. Let's read it inside. If the mitzayra is standing under a tree and v'hatoyr oiver, a person, an item, then they become tummy. Why? Because the mitzayra is stationary. But tohir oimetachas ilan, and the tamei is oiver, then he doesn't impart tuma. And by the way, this is not dafka, not like a corpse. Corpse tuma doesn't make any difference. Now, ve'im amad, and the moment he stops, tamei. And that's the by a mitzayra, and that's the same thing. Be'even haminu ga'as, says the Mishnah. Whether, on the bottom of a house, if you have these signs of red and green, once those stones are deemed Evan HaMinugas, so that's the same halach. So that's a bayaz that if something is not stationary, it's not dear. So therefore, if the tsoya is oiveres, it's not dear. Why doesn't dispose a kasha or a tiyuftan rava? So the Gemara says, V'rava Amar, no. Hasam, taka bayim mitzayra, it's bikvi usatalia. It taka depends on him or her being stationary or not. As it says in Tazriya, that a mitzayra has to be badad yeshev mechutz lamachna moishavoy. No, it's all about dwelling in isolation. Dwelling means being stationary. Over here, the source of not being allowed to say holy words in the presence of urine, or let's speak about soya. Urine we'll see later, it's only in a specific case. But here we're going on the level of Doiraisa. It says, V'hoya machanecha kadosh, Amar Achmana, and V'holeka. We don't have the word of dwelling. And therefore, Rava holds that even if it's Tsoya Oiveres, you have to stop reciting until the Tsoya goes far enough away from you. Everyone, Rav Huna Lishitasei or Rav Chizda Lishitasei. 2 dots. Continues the Gemara Amar Abaye. Pichazer ketzoya severes. The mouth of a chazer has tsoya on it, has tsoya in it, and even though the chazer is moving, so that's the machlokes Abaye and Rava. Gemara Pshita. Of course, we know there's always tsoya on the mouth of a chazer. Loi tzricha, it's needed. Afal gab de solik menahara. Even after the chazer goes out of the river, that's how dirty a chazer is. That he's not purified, he's not physically cleansed. And you have to always say that pi chazer ketzoya everes. Amar Rav Yehuda, sofik tzoya. Oh, there's a smell in the house. You don't know. Let's go to what we learned before. That for divrei Torah, if there is no if it's nothing tangible, you can learn. What happens if you have a doubt? You don't know whether there's tzoya or not. Are you mechoyev to go look for it? So sofik tzoya, says Rav Yehuda, asura. And based on the rule that Safik midoraisa l'chumra, Safik miraglayim mutarim. And as we'll see again, weiter, that miraglayim, true, connected to the pasuk in Kisei V'hayamachanecha kadosh, l'yira v'cha ervas davar. This is in reference to pashut, things that are clean, to human waste. But when does the Torah prohibit saying divrei Torah or davening in the presence of urine? It's only when the person is urinating. It's called when it's streaming out of the body. The moment it's not streaming out of the body, it's only asur midrabanan. Safik midrabanan is lekula. Ika da amri amar Rav Yehuda. Safik tsoya babayis muteres. Because in a bayis, you can say that people don't leave tsoya in the house. However, ba'ashpa, in a place where normally people put tsoya, that is where it's asura. You can make this relevant today, even in the bayis. Are there kids in the house or not kids in the house? When people have kids in the house, then there's tzoya babayis. There's the odor. Let's go with Rav Chizda, that we care about the odor. And if the odor is coming from tzoya, then you got to be 4 amos away from the odor. This halacha l'mais.
How is this again a dairaisa? He says something dairaisa.
Because the Torah says vaymachanecha kadosh in Parshas Kisei refers to the fact when the Torah speaks about when you go out to war, that soldiers would have a little shovel.
So if someone taka said their shema, do they have to repeat it?
Where did we learn about that? Do they have to repeat it or not? I think so. It's toyeva. Tefilla toyeva. We had a machlekes in the Gemara, and that was we concluded. At least we're not pasking in the Gemara. It says we conclude toyeva. Yeah, right. Safek miraglayim. But if there's a doubt whether there's urine, even it's ba'ashpa, so it's highly likely that there is urine there. They yomutarin. It says the Gemara as the charaya that Savar law that Rav Yehuda holds. Ki halt Rav Amnuna. Tov Rav Amnuna lo yasra Torah. But when it comes to urine, the Yisra is only connected amud. If there is the person is streaming urine, then it's taka asr. Midoraisa. If there's just urine laying out, it's only asur midrabanan, and therefore that's the bechlal klal. It's in the beginning of brachas, in the beginning of shas. Safik deoraisa l'chumra, safik derabanan l'kula. Now there's a gavaldik machlekes rishonim when we say safik deoraisa l'chumra. Is safik deoraisa midoraisa l'chumra, or safik deoraisa only midrabanan l'chumra? And there are many nafkaminas regarding that halach. Right. Now, Uched Rabbi Yonasan, Rabbi Yonasan pointed out the following statement. Ksiv, says in Kisei, V'yad means a place. V'yad tehei locha mechutz lamach. Make a place when you are camping. Even soldiers that sometimes, because they are worrying, they kill. So a person can, God forbid, lose certain sensibilities. The Torah says, no, you're a soldier. You're during the war. You're encamped. You want to go relieve yourself, make a place outside the machna. And v'yotzasa shama chutz. And then it says, Vaited v'yosei te'elacham, that you should have a shovel. V'chisisa estzei yosecha. So we got a contradiction. Because in the reish of the pasuk, when it says v'yotzasa shama chutz, it's mashma that you don't have to cover it. Relieve yourself outside the camp, but even if it's uncovered, you're good to go. Here the pasuk says that you have to cover estzei yosecha. Haketzad, so he answers by gedolim, by tsoya, it has to be covered. Kan b'ktanim don't have to be covered. You're not allowed to say the varam shepekadusha only b'fnei amud. Al b'ktanim lo yasrotela ele keneged amud bulvad. But once it falls into the ground, it's only the Rabbanon who the Gazri Buhu. So says the Gemara, V'chi Gazru Buhu Rabbanon. It's only Bivadon when you know that it's present. Aval B'sfeikan like Gazur. Now another question. Now, you have tsoya or you have urine. There has to be a time that it becomes so deteriorated that it loses its halachic status of tsoya and urine. Ubevadoin at kama. How long is that considered tsoya or urine? Amar Rav Yehuda Mashmuel, like this: Kol man shem matfichim. As long as it is moist. If you touch it, if your hands become moist, or if the item becomes moist, it's still considered tsoya. And we're going to have a whole series of different shitas. V'chein Omar Abba Bar Bachana Rav Yechanan kol zman shematfichim. V'chein Omar Ula kol zman shematfichim. It's about it being moist or not. That's the cutoff line. However, Geniva, here we go. Geniva, we have in Gittin Daf Zayin more about Geniva. Geniva, the name of Rav says, kol zman sherishuman nikar. He's much more machmir as long as there's urine on the ground, there's a discernible mark, right? If it's right, you can still see it, then the trace on the ground is still there, then it's still considered urine.
It's not wet.
Even though it's not matfiach, even though it's not moist, correct? Even though it's not moist.
Nothing to do with smell, obviously, right?
Here has nothing to do with smell, very good. Smell is another din, so we just learned this two din. Now, Amar, Daniel, I think once it reaches this point, there's no smell.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, it's nothing to do with odor. Nothing to do with odor. It's two different. There's odor and then there's the Amar Rabbi Yosef. Now Geniva quoted Rav. May God forgive Geniva's quoting Rav. He misquoted Rav. Hashtot soya. We have another source of what Rav said, not regarding urine, regarding tsoya. That Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav Kivin shekarma panel. That if you have tsoya, if the surface of the tsoya crusts, right, then, and by the way, it can still be moist, but the surface became crusty, even though it's moist, then already mutter. So meiraglayim miboya Amar le'abaya. You are saying that Geniva made a mistake based on what you are quoting from Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. I have another statement from another Amoida from the name of Rav. Amar Rav. Oh, much more machmer. That's soya. Even if it is like kecheres, it's dry like earthenware, it's still asur. So when is it mutter? If you throw it, if it doesn't crumble, even though it breaks, it's still considered soya. So fakir, this fits. In other words, he adds this zman of tsoya much later. It fits with the urine now. Ikada amri calls man even more. If you roll it and it doesn't crumble, it's still considered tsoya. Means even if when you throw it, it crumbles. If when you just roll it, it doesn't crumble, it's still tsoya. Amar Avina, hava kamina kamei Rav Yehuda midifti chazat tsoya. Amar li, so he asked me, ayin gebakok ikarma paneloi. Ikada amri hachi amar li ayin I mifloi afloi. Is it developing cracks? All right, let's hold that. It says developing cracks is mamish like the most chomer de kashita. That's the same time where if you roll it, it crumbles, and if not, then I can't say the Shema. So the kids are coming back. We have all these shitas. So my have it.
It really seems exactly like what Rabbi Yosef.
I know that. My have Allah. So itmar tsoya kecheres. One opinion. If tsoya is kecheres, so tsoya kecheres means it's not matpichin. It's not moist. but it's not crumbling it. A meimer is like the shitas that say it's still asur. It has to be crumbling. Mar zutra amar muteres. Amar Rava, second widest line, hilchase tsoya kecheres is still asura. However, meraglayim, being that we just learned above, meraglayim is only asur midrabanan. There we have the shorter zman, which is a leniency. Only kol zman shematpichin. Not like Geniva. Meisvei, fracting gemara we learned in a braisa, meraglayim kol zman shematpichim asurim. However, nivlu. Yafshu, if they got absorbed in the ground, or if they dried, means they evaporated, they are mutarim. Now let's make an inference from the seifa, my love. Nivlu'u dumya de yafshu. Let's touch yafshu. Dried means it's not there, it evaporated, not absorbed. Evaporated or absorbed. Ma yafshu, when it evaporates, ein neshum nikar. You can't even see its mark. Af nivlu l'churat means ein neshum nikar, which would imply ein neshum nikar asur. Even though the ein matpichin, even though that it's not moist, so the Gemara says no, you can't make any such inference from the Braisa. Look at the Reisha. The Reisha says dafka calls man shematpichin, huda aser, which means hadashum nikar shari. So this is a klal. Whenever you can be medayik one way from the Reisha, the other way from the Seifam, we don't know which is the ikir and which is not the ikir. Elamaha lek elamashvamino. Leme katanoi. Gemara will be discussing whether if urine still has a discernible trace, whether it's still considered urine or not for these halachas. It says in a braisa, Keli shenishpachu mimenu meraglayim. Also, likreis kriyashma kinegdoi. In other words, a vessel. We'll call this a chamber pot. They were made out of earthenware. Even if there is no urine in it, since it absorbs the urine when it's being used, it's inherently a disgusting keli, and Shema may never said in its presence. V'vaiter says the Baraisa, umeraglayim atzman, urine itself, shenishbechu, nivlu muter, loy nivlu asad. We'll see soon until what point is nivlu. Rabbi Yosi Oimer, no, kol zman shematvichim. It's only asad, kol zman shematvichim. End of quote. Now the Gemara asks, in the Tanach, my nivlu, my loy nivlu, the Kamer Karantan. Ilema nivlu means the ein matbichin, that it's no longer moist. Loy nivlu means the matbichin. You know, if the Tanakama's cutoff point is moist or not, then Rabbi Yosi is not arguing. Then what does the Tanakama mean with nivlu? Nivlu means mamish absorbed. Which means the Tanakama is machman and he says loy nivlu means the reshum nikar, it's asr. That's one sheet. And Rabbi Yosi is the one that says no. Kozman shematvichen the asr. Hanashum nikar is shari. So l'chura this is mamish amachloikes Tanakama and Rabbi Yosi. Says the Gemara loy. I can argue the Kula Alma calls man shematvichanu the Asir, and all of the Tanoim are more lenient, even though it's the Shuman Niked, it's already Shadi. Daf Chav Hey Amit Beis. However, Vahache Betoifeach Amenas Latviach Ikabenayum. Atkam we spoke about, is it moist? Now let's add another detail. There's something being moist, and there's something being so moist that anything or any person that touches it gets so much moisture on them that if they touch something else, they pass the moisture on. That is the question. Look inside the top Rashi. The Tanakama holds, the Tanakama is even more lenient, that for urine to be considered urine, even if it's moist, it's not always going to have a din of urine. Boya almanas latpiach. And Rabbi Yosi says, matvichen, but both of them hold that if it's no longer moist, even though it's a shuman nikar, it's not considered urine, just the concept of turning everything in the positive, that the concept of teifeach, amanas latfiach is a very important chassidish concept. Or it's in the positive. In other words, when we absorb kedusha, when we learn Torah, the goal is not only to be moist means lachluchias, it shouldn't be dry, it should be a wet Yiddishkeit, but it's not enough that I should get the moisture. I have to get enough moisture that I should be able to wet others, to feach amanas latviach, to be a lanternchnik, to get the light, to light other people's fires. All right, back over here. That was a good segue. Surik, Yarad lit boil, im yachal alois. So the Mishnah spoke about that it's time for Shema. You can't say Shema uncovered. if you can get out of the mikveh and get dressed, good. Lema, hold on. The fact that you don't have enough time, that seems to only be giving us a very limited amount of zman for saying the Shema, and indeed that was a machlokes in Tanoim, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua. So Leimer Tanas Tamik Rabbi Eliezer the Amar Ada Neitzachamo, which is why, you know what? How much time does it take you to get dressed? But if you have to say Shema with the Neitzachamo, then the Mishnah flows. So the Gemara says, I'll tell you, we paskin like Rabbi Yeshua. Elama, everyone holds of the concept of vasikin, right? Vasikin are the devoted ones. Rashi says vasikin are the mechavev mitzvah. Someone who is mechavev mitzvah, they want to say the Shema together with the nates, really a little bit earlier than the nates. As we learned, either the pasuk that we quoted above is about the Shmoina Esrei, and Shmoina Esrei should be said with the nates. And since you have to be soymech gula l'tefilla, so subsequently you have to say the Shema shortly before the nates. Or vasikin isn't only a din on the Shmoina Esrei, vasikin is a din also on the Shema. Side the Shema and the Shmoina Esrei both should be said with the Neitzachama. So if a person is noya keminig vasikin, then the Mishnah says, listen, then they should only get out and get dressed if they can say it at that time. But the imlaf, continues the Mishnah, then they are allowed, they are allowed to cover themselves with water. So what if their eyes cannot see the erva, but their heart sees the erva? Amar Rabbi Lazar, in the name of Rabbeinu, we had it above Rabbeinu's Rav. No, when is that a good? Only if the waters are cloudy. It's not transparent waters. And then it's the domo ka'ara smichta, like if you are in thick ground, right? The Tanach Ashbi and the son, they were in the cave. They learned in the ground. Hold on, the ground is a single cover. Why isn't there a problem? There was no gartel there. Doesn't matter if the ground is so thick. It's considered separated.
It's like if you're lying in sand.
You're lying in sand. Okay, I'm just going to be different on the mashal. In other words, the chiddush is even though it's one cover, it's no longer called libo royas erva. If I'm wearing a jalaba, I have to put on a gartel. Today you have elastics in clothing, a belt. But if not, it's mamish liboy royas erva. There'll be nothing being chaytzitz. If you are in the ground or in murky waters, no, there's no liboy royas erva.
Yesterday there was an opinion that you bunch the sheets around your neck. That opinion is not a problem.
We're going to have in a moment. Yeah. We learned the machlokes whether there is an issue with liboy royas erva. Very good. In other words, shelo yira liboy ervasi. Tana rabbanan. Mayim tzelulim. If you have transparent waters, so yeshu matzavari. And Makaira, you are allowed to read. In other words, according to the Shita, there is no problem with liboy roya eso erva. But hold on, the problem is, but your eyes can see the erva. So v'yesh oimrim that oichna baragloi. Oichna baragloi means that you have to churn the water with your legs, and then the waters become murky. All right.
It's not. The water's murky,
no? No. The Tanakama doesn't hold that oichram baragloi. So kosavar liboy royas erva is muter. Obviously, the waters are good enough that your eyes are not seeing the erva, but it's liboy royas erva. Another detail we didn't learn until now. Okay, that it's not only about liboy, it's about any part of the body. Mutar. So continuing to what we just suggested yesterday, if you have the chabad, your mind, that's the eyes, that cannot be connected to the erva. At least the mind is good when you're davening. Then liboy is, what are you feeling? And akeva eloyes erva yemaisa. In other words, if you're doing the right thing, even though it's royas erva, maisa oike. Itmar, third of the medium-sized lines towards the top of the amid. Akeva royas erva. Here the Tana says you are allowed to recite the Shema, but noigeya Again, in those days they wore one garment, and when people sat down, they didn't have chairs. So it was common. Certain people got just accustomed the way they sat down. I don't know what you call that. The Indian, whatever. You sit down and your legs are crossed, and a part of your leg is touching your erva. So that could be worse. Abaya Amar Asr, Rava Amar Mutter. Rab Zvid Masni Lo. As we learned it above. However, like no geya, not a machlokes. Negeya devei hakol asur. Roya, right? By Roya Abaya Amar Asur v'Rava Amar Muter. And why did Rava say it's muter? By Roya, because lo nitna toira l'malachi hasharis. Now, normally this is an expression that means that we're imperfect. Rashi adds a gavaldik nuance, an unusual nuance. Look inside the Rashi, 7 lines on the top of the Amid. No, it's not that malachim are able to be more precise than us. Malachim don't have an erva. If they would have had an erva, even the malachim would be unable to have that level where a keva is not even roya the erva. And therefore, our bottom line is, it says Rav it's muter. V'hilchase takunigeya asur, roya muter. Now, let's go to more about the roya. So, Amar Rav tsoya ba'ashashis. You have, today would mean a glass container, or any transparent container, and in it there's soya. So, look at it, it's covered, but it's transparent. Gavaldik.
And it's next to you.
And it's next to you. Muter, Rava says, Muter likres kriyashma kenegda. However, erva ba'ashosh is asur likres kriyashma kenegda. And explains. Makes so much sense. Someone is not dressed modestly and you're wearing glasses. Don't laugh. There are certain people that when they read the Torah, they take off their glasses. Tsoya ba'ashashis muter likres kriyashma kenegda. Why? He explains. Because tsoya bikisu Italia milsa. It's about covered. And v'hamekasya. It's covered. It's transparent. It's covered. Erva ba'ashashis asur likres kriyashma kenegda. Because the Torah says, going back to the pasuk in Kisei, it says lo yira v'cha ervas davar amar achmana. It doesn't make sense about hirur. If it's visible, it's visible. But when it comes to not to erva, then even though it's visible, if it's covered, it's called covered. Amar Abaya.
Is that it's covered or is that it's contained?
Okay, Rabbi Yaakov, covered, contained, I don't know, think about it.
I mean, covered means
glasses, going back. Covered, no. That's, covered means it's
So there's a layer between
Chametz on Pesach, we say Aliyah.
you can't own it. B'chlal there means you can't own it. You cannot own it.
But the cover thing?
It's not about seeing it. I can see someone else's chametz. Yeah, there it's about owning it. Even covered doesn't help. Chametz on Pesach, Ronnie's asking. Okay, Amar Abaya, tsoya kolshu. If you have some tsoya, and we may not recite because of tsoya, so says Abaya mavatla beroik. Hold on, Amar Rava, not any roik. Here he's saying uberoik ava. Interesting. So we just said that if it's transparent, but transparent is in a keli. Here, if the roik is transparent, the roik is not a keli, but if the roik is ava, if it's thick, mucus, then it's considered covered. Amar of another din. Tsoya beguma. If there's a hole and there's soya in it. Maniach sandaloi oleh, you put your shoe, your sandal on top of the hole, and you can read the Shema. There's 2 chidushim here. Number 1, you are on top of it. Number 2, the cover is temporary. But that's okay. However, you're not touching it. Meaning you're not your foot. Your sandal is not touching it. The question is, what happens if tsoya devuka besandalo, if the soya under your sandal, even though you are on top of it, but you can argue your sandal is as a hemshech of your body. If we learned before about a wrapper, the shoe is buttled to the person, then you're touching it is worse. Now, it's touching it with your foot. We began this today. if it's kol hanashama tahalul yudkei, or is it kol atzmaisei teimano? If it's kol atzmaisei teimano, then it can't be touching any part of my body. Now, is it my body or not? My teikum. Gewaldig. Now, when we just learned over Parsha Shmois that Moshe Rabbeinu was told to take his shoes off his feet. In other words, the concept that the earth, normally we want to be a little bit above the coarse earth. If the earth is holy, then fakert, we want to be connected to Kedusha. In other words, there you see that shoes is considered a hefsek. Shoes are considered a hefsek. Here the question is, the shoes are considered the hefsek enough from the earth, but from tsoya itself, shoes is not enough of a hefsek. You have to have...
Shoes right on top of the tsoya. That's
because it's touching, you're touching tsoya itself.
So his shoes on his feet, he didn't take them off.
This akasha, you have shoes on your feet. Very good. This is mama halacha l'maisa. People walk in the streets even today.
Obviously, in this case, there's no smell.
Very good. So again, going back to smell, we learned in Amud Aleph. So we learned another whole question whether smell itself. No, there's an issue of smell, right. And there you have enough gemina issue, whether the divrei Torah, kriya shema, or tsoya. Okay, very good. Yeah, of course, it's in your dal damas. Amar Rav Yehuda, akum arum, asur likres kriya shema kenegdoi. Lo yira b'cha ervas davar. Frek the gemara, ma yira akum afil Yisrael nami. Says the gemara, of course, Yisrael pshita lei da asur. Ela akum itzrechalei mal de tema oil v'ksiv buhu. A pasuk in Yecheskel, and the specific pasuk is speaking about immoral behavior. The pasuk mamish in the most pashut way is speaking about the male organ of a non-Jew. Asher b'sar chamoyrim b'saram. This was a criticism towards our behavior, but the Torah calls the male organ of the Egyptians or of non-Yidden chamoir. So ema kechamor ba'almuhu, and just halachically, a person is allowed to say Shema in front of the erva of an animal. So maybe you would think halachically it's not a problem. Komash Milan, no, the inunami yikru erva, as it says, we're going to Chamishi Chumshei Torah, we're going to Noach. I remember in Cheder, is Noach gevein a Yid, is Noach nishken Yid? That's the question my Zaydi used to ask me. These are alta Polish questions. So the erva saviyam leiro. So Noach is not a Yid. And when the Torah is speaking about the story, the erva saviyam leiro, and the Torah calls it erva. So therefore, a lot to learn from this gemara. You see tzaddikim. In other words, today a person says hirurim. If you'll see, what's even the havamina? These were tzaddikim. They were tzaddikim. They had no hirurim. They can see an erva, didn't do anything to them. The Torah says you can't. Say that. So if the Torah doesn't call it an erva, then it's not a problem. That's a good level to Gavaldik, huh?
The Alter Rebbe says.
That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Correct. Kismol Litzoy, very good. In other words, if you have that in mind, then if without the pasuk, then there's not a problem. So you cover yourself with water, but you can't cover yourself with maimaroy. Means it's all about smell, smelly water. Then that you would soak flax. Today, you know what mei hamishna would mean? Laundry water. Until you dilute it with. We read the rashi because it doesn't make sense. First of all, it makes sense, but it doesn't. To dilute that amount of water, you need a gavaldik amount of water. What are we talking about? We're being practical. How much water do you need? Too much water to dilute that water. Ella achika amar, and Rashi in the Mishnah used the words chasurim echsera. However, klal umeid aglayim, another din. If you have urine, right, in that area, then you can't daven in the presence of urine midrabanan. Until you dilute it with water v'yikra. Oh, so now that we're speaking about diluting the urine, how much water is needed? Tana Rabbanan. Kama yatl l'teichen mayim. Tanach says kol shehu. Wow. The rabbizajac is a bit more machmir. He says you have to add a revius. But Sayil Tanakama, Sayil rabbizajac, it doesn't go with the rules of Roiv. Means even according to rabbizajac, even if the urine is many times more than a revius, once you put a revius, you're mevatel it. Amar Rav Nachman, machloikes between Tanach and Rabbizajac is only lebasoif, meaning urine was in there first. Then you are adding water. Kol shehu or revius. Avol batchila, Rashi says, if water was in a keli first, then in that water came the urine, everyone will hold that even if there was only a drop of water in the keli first, that little bit is mavatalit with the rule of kama batal. Rishon batal. Now we did mention one time in the past while that I don't remember exactly where that was. It was somewhere in Nida that the Rishon bottle is only if you're pouring it drop by drop. I think we read a tosfot. If you pour it into a stream, then we don't say Rishon bottle. It's a very important sugya. But here, obviously here there's no nafkamina. A person is relieving themselves in a keli that has a drop of water. Rishon bottle means you understand. The moment the first drop of urine came in there, the mayim was roiv. And then all of it has a din of mayim. And then when the next drop of urine comes in there, then the halachic mayim is mavatalit. And even if at the end you have who knows how much urine versus the initial drop of water, kama bottle. However, Rabbi Yosef says no. Machloikes fakert is when lachatchila means water was there first. That's where you have the machloikes kolshu versus revius. Avol lebasoif. If first urine, everyone holds a revius. And now Rav Yosef lishi tasoi, Rabbi Yosef told his attendant, isolated use of the mayo, right? There they were speaking about the water was first, and he says, I need a revius kirab zakoi. Is the charaya that even the water is first, even there is a machlekes. And he says, I'm going to be machmer like Rabbi Zakoi. I need to have first a revius of mine. Weiter. Tonan Rabbanan. Geraf shol reiva avad shol miraglaim. Okay, this was common in those days. It's called in English a chamber pot. Now there was a chamber pot for excrement, which is called geraf shel re'i. There's a chamber pot of urine. Here, the din is asur likrois kriya shma kenegdan va'af al pi she'ein bahem klum. This is dafke because it was made out of earthenware. We know from other halachas and Torah it's very absorbent. So it's ma'us. And all the dinim of Shabbos we have from this, like a muksa. Right, we can move garbage out of a house on Shabbos because it's disgusting. Meiraglayim atzman achayitl toichamayim, and here that's the brayso that we quoted above. The kama yitl betoichamayim. Tanakama says kol shur. Rabbizajac says it is. Furthermore, says the holy brayso. Now let's be practical. The chamber pots were in one's room. Like the middle of the night, person gets already older. They have to go to the bathroom middle of the night. They had a chamber pot in there. People said Shema when they woke up in the morning. So if you have this chamber pot, empty or not, says the Tana, Bein lifnei amita. So it's in front of you. Bein la'achar. La'achar means it's behind. In other words, you would think that the bed is like a mechitza. Tanakama says no. It's always usher. However, Rabban, Shimon, Ben Gamliel says no. La'achar hamita. If it's behind the bed, then koida. Now we're going to learn more details about this in a moment. The beds were not necessarily like the beds of today, but that bed is amachitza. However, lifnei amita, eino koida. Avol marcheku arba amos v'koida. We'll see in a moment what this is referring to the marchek dal damos. We'll explain both options in a moment. So we'll leave that open. And the third shita, Rab Shimon ben Elazar says, no, afilu bayis meya amma. The entire house has a din of daladamas, lo yikra, which is so great. We want to be in the daladamas of the rebbe. 707 is the daladamas of the rebbe. You don't. In other words, when you are in the bias, the whole bias is ein daladamas.
That's also why some things say negobasser. You don't have to.
Very good. Ad sheyotziem oy sheyanicham tachas hamita. In other words, you have to take it out of the home. Or he's giving another option. Even if the bed is not a mechitza, that's if it's in front of, behind of, but if it's under, then it's considered covered, and we'll see again details about that. We're asking on the sheet of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. We said when he says the words Avol marcheku arba amos v'koida, what exactly is that referring to? Is he saying that achar amita, if it's behind the bed, koida miyad, you don't need daladamas. Lifnei amita, since there's no mechitza, that's where he says marchik daladamas, option number one. Or idil mahachikam. La'achar amita, if it's behind the bed, yet the bed, according to him, is better than the Tanakama, but it's still not enough. behind the bed and daladamas. But lifnei amita ain't a koida cloud because it'll be moida that lifnei amita, the whole house is like daladamas. What is pshat in ashbag? So we're going to have a gewaldige proof. We're going to quote another Baraisa. Now there's a problem with this other Baraisa. This other Baraisa flips Rab Shimon ben Gamliel and Rab Shimon ben Elazar. Whatever we learned here at Ashbag is said there at Shimon ben Elazar. Whatever we learned here at Shimon ben Elazar, we're going to say that at Ashbag. But the Tana that's saying the same concept of Rashbag here will spell it out clearer, so we will resolve the inquiry. Toshima, the Tanya Rab Shimon ben Elazar Omer. This Rab Shimon ben Elazar in the second Braisa is like Rashbag in the first Braisa. Achar Amita Koydem Miyat, clear. He holds bed as a mechitza. So if it's behind the bed, you don't need any distance. Lifnei Amita, it's very lenient. Taka, it's Lifnei Amita, you are together with it. But he doesn't hold that the whole house is daladamas. So marchik arba amis, and that's enough. And Rab Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, it's each shita is being attributed to a different Tana. Afilu bayis meya ama lo yikra atshe yitziem oy sheyanichem tachas hamita. Good. So the Gemara says, I am amoida. No, we have a Braisa. The Braisa Bechlal doesn't fit. But we can, since we see there was a changing of who said what, but what is said is correct. Boyin if shitalon. This is a derech halimud. The question is, masnis and kasha adodi. Which Tana said what? So the Gemara says, Epoch basraisa. The light of Braisa has to be turned around. Frek the Gemara, my chazes, the afchat basraisa epoch kamaisa. Answers the Gemara, man shamat leida amar. Who do we know in another area in Shas that says that the whole house is like arba amos? We know that from Rab Shimon ben Elazar. So now this has to be consistent. Zok Rashi, man shamat leida chulei. Zok Rashi, lo yodati heichoni. I don't know where that other place is. Says Rab Nissen Gon, or you have the, I have by me it's here on the right side. He brings a whole din from Eruvin. And Rashi didn't know the din of Eruvin, just to see a Rabbi Akiva Eger. Look inside this Rabbi Akiva Eger. When the Rebbe used to write to the Ragged Shavar, that's how they wrote. So when Rashi says, I don't know, do you see this Rabbi Akiva Eger? It's like this big, and all he is doing is ayin, 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 ayin. He gives up 80 ayins. Mamish. V'chein b'Rashi Shabbos tezayin, divrei maschil lemando amar, yud zayin mazanicha, mem tesam beis. Gabakuk was tutzach though. Okay, you can write a book just to explain what Rabbi Akiva Eger is saying over here.
Oh, he's shooting what Rashi's saying?
No, explaining what Rashi is saying, Mistama. Or maybe asking. Okay. It says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yosef. Bo'o minei Rav Huna. This was what was asked from Rav Huna. Mita pachus mishloisha. If you're putting it under the bed and it's less than 3 tfachim, in other words, the underside of the bed, until the ground is less than 3. Halacha l'moshe b'sinai lavud, even got jumping til chasukkah and many other places. Lavud means that it's as if it's connected. That's for sure good. Pshitali, that the kelavud dummy, and that's why you say that this chamber pot is taka covered. The question will be Shloisha, Arba, Chamisha, Shisha, Shiva, Shmoina, Tisha. It's 3 until 10, underside of the bed until the ground. Mau. What is the din? Amalei lo yodano. However, Asara Vade lo mibay. 10, there's no question. 10 Avade is not considered covered just because it's under the bed. Amar Abaye, shapir over the loy boilach. It's good that they never even asked about 10. Why? Because kol asara reshus achritihi. Amar Abba, hilchase pachos meshleisha kol avadami. Asara, if the underside of the bed until the ground is 10 tvachim or more, reshut achritihi avada not covered. And indeed, the first widest line, shloisha v'ad asara hainu di boye minei Rabbi Yosef min Abu Huna v'loy pashat lan. And we didn't have an answer. Amarav, halacha ki Rab Shimon ben Elazar, that what? That if it's not covered, no, you cannot recite it in the whole house. The whole house is like Arba Amos. Arba Amos was already Rab Shimon ben Gamliel. V'chein Amar Bali, Amar Rabbi Yaakov, another one of the son of Isra Nachal, right? Berachot Bashmuel, that halacha ki Rab Shimon ben Elazar. V'Rava Amar, ein halacha shemin Elazar. Halacha is not like shemin Elazar. Now look what Danny says, that negelvasa, that's why you put negelvasa by your bed. Don't say that b'toich habayis is ka'arba amas. Rabbi Choy, gavaldik amais. Rabbi Choy iyasik leila b'rei. Rabbi Choy married off his son to Bei bar Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, to the daughter of Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta. What a story, chavra. Ailei l'chuppah. He brought a son into the chuppah. However, v'lo yahava mistaya milsa. In English, ed. He couldn't do it. The son, the chassan, couldn't consummate the marriage, and the father wanted to know why that happened. Azul basrei leyuna. The Rabbi Choy wanted to know something was wrong. There's a reason for that. And you know what he found? He found the Sefer Torah de Mancha. He found the Sefer Torah was in that home, in that room. Omar Luhu, so he told his mechutin that Iko hashta lo yasoya, had I not come, sakantum libri, my son's life was in danger. The Tanya bayish ish Sefer Torah or tefillin. And we spoke it in our intro, and we say this also by mezuzah. We have to understand why the Berachot doesn't mention that. Asur l'shamish b'yasamita. Either acher yotziem, take it out of that room, oy sheyanichem keli b'toich keli. Now here we're going with the shita. Keli b'toich keli means that even if you have a covering that was made for this item exclusively, it's considered one keli. Elamah, if you have 2 or 3 or 10 bags, it won't help. It's only considered one if they were made exclusively for. It comes to the talis and tefillin bag. So even though, again, we learned above the concept that in the chalal tefach, here we're not mentioning at all about chalal tefach. So a tefillin bag is called one keli, but only one. If there would be another bag made only for the tefillin, it's still considered one covering. Question is regarding, since we put the tefillin in a talis bag, the talis bag was made for the talis and for the tefillin, so the talis bag is not hashmisha kedusha. Many people hold that this is already considered a double cover. Many people hold that it's not considered a double cover. If you're going to the airport, you're going to the bathroom, you got to put it in there. You have it in your carry-on, that's okay. That's for sure considered keli b'toich keli. But if it's not so pashut. Here we're speaking about the worst than going into a bathroom. Here we're speaking about having marital relations.
The bag they give from the Shluchim's convention.
The bag they give from the Shluchim's convention was not made only for tefillin.
So that's an extra
covering. That's an extra covering, correct. Question is, if you were mazmin it only for. Mm-hmm. So again, if you hold that talis and tefillin bag is considered made for tefillin, then it's only considered one keli. Has to be keli, but now we're going to learn in the beginning of next year, just very important, that for Sefer Torah, and according to Tosfot for Chumashim, even keli b'toich keli is not enough. And these are all of the big dinei Torah when you have a shtibul, because these dinim has to be in a separate room. On the side, it's okay, even though not ideal. On the side, on top or on the bottom, you're farlach. And by the way, there were these of tzaddikim that they lost children, and they quoted this because he says that you put my son's life in danger. This can cost a life. Let's finish reading. Amar Abaye lo yishanu that it helps ella b'keli she'ena kilyan. If you have a double keli, the second keli wasn't made for it. Avol b'keli shu kilyan. But if you have a wrapper and another keli, but they were all made only for the Sefer Torah, only for the tefillin, and let's go to only for the mezuzah. Afilu asara money, even 10 kelim is only kechad manadami. It's taka considered one, but only one. And Omar Rava, let's finish with this. Gelima, we're turning to Avchavav, Akamtera, if you have a closet, you have a cabinet, you have a bookshelf, and you have svarim in it. So he's mekel. Now we're going to learn in the beginning of the next year, we're not going to Chumashim, that the bookshelf is considered one keli, even though the bookshelf doesn't cover it from all sides, but you can say the book cover. And then if you put a gelima on top of it, then kekeli b'toich keli dami. Listen, Chavah, we're machnise yoyrech. We want to be people that are hospitable. If you have a couple in your house, make sure that in that bedroom you don't have svarim. If not, how are you a machnise yoyrech? You can't have a relation. Unless they'll know the din that they're going to take a sheet and they'll cover the bookshelf. But the leniency here is that the sheet doesn't cover it from all sides. Only from the front. The bookshelf doesn't come from all sides either.
combined.
But you say it's a keli b'toich keli. And God willing, we'll continue tomorrow the way we'll learn the sheet of Rabbi Shua ben Levi. God willing to be continued.
Where does it